initial training in digital health to the fact to train digital professionals in that domain. Next slide. When we talk about digital health, we talk about data, and there are main data challenges in health data. The first one is fragmentation, still fragmentation between institutions, territories, and countries. The second one is data heterogeneity, the difficulty to access to health data, the trust and the protection of people in health data, and also the interoperability. So, next slide. So when we want to create an ecosystem, we had also to create an health data warehouse at the regional level with the aim to build an access platform for all the region and to have all, to cope with all this, to address all this challenge. Next slide. Based on this ecosystem, we have applied with our colleagues, Indian colleagues, to the call for the Indian campus with the Indian campus, with the triple IT in Delhi, with Ashoka University near Delhi, and with AIIMS in Bangalore. Next slide. And the aims of this campus is to foster the transformation of bioscience through digital technology, to include the importance of social science or legal framework for data, but also for new therapies. And always we have a continuum between the molecular approach to therapeutic innovation. Next slide. 3 domains, each time an ecosystem of research, education, innovation. We have so in this campus joint education, collaborative research, and innovation and entrepreneurship. Next slide. One example is a joint education that we propose with Triple IT in Delhi. It's a Franco-Indian double masters in computational biology, which already works now with different topics: omics, molecular biology, system biology, computational biology, medical data, data science, machine learning, statistics, and imaging. And we have exchange in the both sides. That is very important. We have students and professors from India to France and from France to India. And it works very well. Next slide. We have also collaborative research to enhance collaborative research, once again, 4 scientific themes: membrane biology and molecular transport, computational and quantitative biology, data science and omics, and advanced approach in the digital health, for example, like quantum biology. Next slide. And the last part, the last pillar is innovation, with a strong program in entrepreneurship and industry engagement. We have already made connection with industry, French industries in India and Indian industries. We have also fostered our entrepreneurship program and innovation through a program which is called Nucleate. We were the first to launch the Nucleate program, which comes from the Harvard Medical School in France, and we have exactly now the mirror in Bangalore, so we can share these 2 entrepreneurship programs on data health with our partners. And then we try to enhance Franco-Indian cooperation, with a strong link with the academy and the industry ecosystem. Next slide. And I think I've finished. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Very impressive. Right on time. And you really didn't have the nicest spot. So I will now call our ambassador for AI, Madame Clara Chapaz, who will be the moderator of the sequence with our French president. So please welcome on stage.
Thank you. I know you're going to be really sad to miss our most amazing MC. Please give her a big round of applause. You won't believe me, but it's actually the first time she does this ever. And if I'm 100% transparent, she learned it this morning. Congratulations. While we wait for the president, we're just going to get people to set up on stage, and we'll tell you when you're ready. Do I need to remind everyone about all the rules? Are we good? Let's do a quiz. Do we stand up when he arrives? Yes, good job. More difficult question. Do we stand up when he leaves? You're perfect. Please welcome Monsieur le Président de la République Emmanuel Macron, joined by Honorable Minister of Health and Family Welfare, President of AIIMS, Sri JP Nadda. I will first have the honor of inviting Monsieur le Président de la République Emmanuel Macron and Monsieur le Ministre JP Nadda for the traditional lighting ceremony. And I will invite Honorable Minister JP Nadda to take down a seat while we start the conversation. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Monsieur le Président de la République, Honorable Minister of Health and Family Welfare, dear JP Nadda, dear Minister Delegate in charge of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Affairs, chère Anne, dear Minister Delegate in charge of Francophonie, International Partnerships, and French Citizens Abroad, chère Eleonore, dear Secretary to Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Madame Punya Salila Srivastava, sorry in advance for my Indian friends if I don't pronounce the names correctly. Dear Secretary of Departments of Science and Technology, dear Abhay Karandikar, dear Secretary of the Department of Biotechnology, Dr. Rajesh Gokhale, dear Member of the French Parliament, cher Anne Gente, dear Ambassador of France to India, cher Thierry Matou, dear Ambassador of India to France and Monaco, Shri Sanjeev Kumar Singla, dear Special Envoy of the French President for AI, cher Anne Bouvreau, Honorable Directors of AIIMS Delhi, dear Professor Srinivas, thank you so much for welcoming us to the most prestigious hospital in India. Honorable, yeah, you can give a round of applause for that. Honorable Chairman of the Rush, dear Thierry Coulon and Vijay Raghavan, thank you for hosting this event and making it such an unforgettable moment. We can also give them a round of applause. But now you started, so. Dear President of Universities, Deans of Faculties, Directors of Scientific and Research Institutions, dear CEOs, Head of Companies, dear students from AIIMS, some of you are behind us, and other high-level institutions, distinguished guests, Mesdames, Messieurs. So welcome here at Rush. It's probably the most ambitious ever academic and scientific event that was decided, organized, made together with a French and Indian twist. Rush was actually launched this morning, as I shared, by our two chairmen, Thierry Coulon and Vijay Raghavan. And it's a flagship event of the India-France Year of Innovation that you launched, Mr. President, yesterday with Prime Minister Modi. It is addressing one ambition: deepening our long-standing partnership in the areas of innovation, of AI, health, and academic mobility by 2047. We are gathered here today on the sidelines of another event, which I think I've been keeping our Indian friends quite busy, the AI Impact Summit, of course. This summit is a key international event to address the opportunities and challenges caused by AI. And it happens to be just 1 year after we hosted our Paris AI Action Summit, dear Anne. And we are very glad to be here to celebrate this event with you here in Delhi. Today's conversation should allow us to address our relationship, France and India, is key for sharing our knowledge, our talents, our capabilities, but also our values when it comes to embracing the AI revolution. Monsieur le Président, your presence today here at AIIMS is a unique opportunity to advance the international conversation on AI, which is a topic that I know you have very strong stance on. We are honored, as you see, to be joined on stage by two amazing talents. First, Dr. Priyanka Das Rajkakati and Mr. Manan Suri. Those two brilliant Indian talents with careers actually illustrate the partnership between France and India. Dear Priyanka, you are a renowned aerospace researcher, specializing in remote sensing applied to hydrology, but also a talented artist who draws inspiration from your scientific career to offer a fusion between art and space. You left India at the age of 21 to study at École Polytechnique, probably one of the best schools in France, but I cannot say the best because there are too many people from universities here. I'm going to get in trouble. But it is the best. And now live in Toulouse, but remain very close to India. Dear Manan, you're a professor at IIT Delhi and founder of Siren AI Solutions, a deep tech company. You have created key technologies in the field of semiconductors and unconventional computer hardware. Having achieved your PhD in France as well, in Grenoble, and worked at the CNRS, you are also strongly connected to France. No formal speech, no official statement. We'll have a dynamic conversation today, which I'm obviously happy to open with the first question. So, Priyanka Manan, I think everyone in the room has seen how much you share with India and France. You both happen to have studied in France. Given this particular experience, given your background, and given the fact that we agreed the whole day that we can only build AI technologies if we do it together, what do you think we should do to reinforce the partnership between France and India to strengthen our bilateral cooperation? And I'll start with you, Manan, because you've experienced both sides, and maybe you can tell us a little bit more about this experience.
Thank you, Clara, Your Excellency, and all the respected French officials, delegates, and Indian friends. So I did my PhD in France. I started in 2010. I moved to France from the US. One of the key reasons why I chose the French option was because it was highly interdisciplinary, and it brought various different stakeholders at an intersection. So we had academics, we had industry, scientific labs, all of them fusing into a single PhD. So that was a key motivation. It was quite interdisciplinary. Coming back to your question on what we must do, I think the most important aspect here is the grassroots connect, the individual connect. I'll just give you an example. It's been 13 years since I have left France and back in India. And we have toiled to do many different partnerships. In our group, we work with Sewa, Leti, Sewa, List, Paris-Saclay, AIIMS Bordeaux, University of Lille. And you'll be amazed to know that all this work is without any formal funding. It's just one-to-one researcher connect. So if the grassroots connect is strong, it just drives everything. So as much grassroots level researcher or innovator connect we have, it helps.
Thank you. What about you, Priyanka? Thank you for sharing this experience. Why actually did you choose France? And, what are the key assets that the French-Indian scientific cooperation can build on?
So I have a little story. So I'm actually an artist masquerading as a scientist. Because for me, science, just like AI, it's a tool, you know. It's a tool for achieving something. And I think the difference between a researcher and an artist is that research helps you explore something, but an artist strives to deliver. So to get that end product. So for me, that's why I insist on being recognized as an artist. And I think for me, France was a very, very normal choice because it was firstly my third or fourth language in school. So in India, we have a fourth and fifth languages. And then I went and did physics from St. Stephen's and its École Polytechnique, which came to recruit foreign students. And went on to do a PhD in space science from Supero. And I always felt that the artistic side is what really helps connect. It's the emotional connection which, we can leverage as scientists to speak about our technology and make the end user understand it better. And what better place than France, which is known for both, the Eiffel Tower, but also some of the famous artists, some of the famous designers. And for me, that was a natural choice. And for the collaboration, I think what we're doing here is a very good example. I'm also here to represent Business France delegation for Vortex.io, where I'm working today. And that was also a very good example of how, we are exposing two sides to each other's cultures. And I think that's very important. So culture being a keyword.
Thank you. Do you want to add up to that part of the conversation, Mr. President, and to how do you think we should reinforce this collaboration?
Thank you very much. And I'm very honored and happy to be here with the delegation. I recognize a lot of friendly faces and very familiar people here and a lot of potential new friends. We will be debriefed about Rush and the whole initiative by the two co-chairs. But I think what's important to me to convey as well, on top of Rush and this cooperation between high schools, universities, research centers, and so on, it's about exchanging more between our students. And both of you you had a PhD, if I understand properly. You did a PhD as well. But it's very important for us to welcome more Indian students and to have more French students coming here. We speak about 10,000 per year, more or less. It depends on the season. Sometimes people tell me it's 9,300. Sometimes my ambassador told me it's 11,000. So it should be around 10,000 per year. Okay. We decided with Prime Minister Modi to have 30,000 by 2030. It's largely feasible. Largely feasible. On the French side, we have to simplify, and we will simplify, our sourcing and as well as a visa facility. To have a visa which, meets the expectation of the students and is appropriate. For instance, if you have a PhD, I don't know how many years it took for you, 3 years, so many. So if I give you a visa for 1 year, I'm a little bit crazy. I create a sort of uncertainty, and probably we deliver the visa for 1 year, and you have to renew it, and so on. So it's not optimal. So on the French side, we will clearly streamline this approach in order to have something which meets the expectations and is much more practicable for the students and the schools. And by Rush, precisely, we will establish better connections in order to have a better sourcing. Because India, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, was not the #1 source of students. Let's be honest. So I want our universities and high school to do much more, but we will do as well much more in terms of administrative facilities. At the same time, I want all the Indian students to be sure that if you come to France, you have the best in class teaching, you have access to the research centers and exactly the ecosystem you mentioned. With a lot of interdisciplinarity. You have, if you study in AI, you can have both, obviously, data scientists, mathematicians. You can have fundamental research with clearly the interaction with startups. But you can have as well interdisciplinarity with philosophy and other disciplines because it's super important to have the model of AI we do believe in. And this is exactly what we have on our campus. And I want you to be sure that you can have all your different lessons, your approach, in English. Because I know that sometimes they're still exchanging with a lot of students. They say, I will not join France. I don't have a sufficient level in French language. No. You can come for a PhD, even for a master degree, and you will be teaching French, in English, sorry. Obviously, you can learn French in parallel, but you will be educated and you will have all the facilities in English. And it's very important to have that in mind, to convey to all the students here in India that we do have these facilities and this access. And my last point, because sometimes there is source of misunderstandings, I'm making my pitch for attracting more Indian students, as you see. It's a strange argument, but in France, the cost of studies is largely less expensive than in a lot of other countries. It's not the signal, it's bad quality. I'm serious. I had a lot of students saying to me, okay, it's almost for zero. It should be a terrible level of quality. Because everywhere in the rest of the world, you have to pay a lot of money to have 1 year. It's our, I would say, collective choice in France. The taxpayer contributes much more than the student. It's more fair. You can have some contributions are non-French students, but it's much more limited than in the equivalent Anglo-Saxon universities. So we can ask for some fees. It depends, and I think it's good that each university and each high school has its own model and will be free to have its own model. But we are very far from the level of fees in the Anglo-Saxon universities. But just take it as a collective choice, but not the signal that there is a lower quality. It's not true at all. The government is paying for the difference. This is my clarification after several interactions with students. So I clearly invite much more Indian students to come at master or for a PhD and to share the experience you had, because I really believe that we can provide a unique experience, and you pitch France much better than I could do.
I hope some of the students sitting behind us got convinced. And thank you. We're going to count how many of you we take back in the plane. Great, thank you, Mr. President. I mean, obviously, this is the AI Impact Summit, and everything we shared is particularly true when it comes to AI, because as you rightly said, one of the reasons you came to France is because you have such an interdisciplinary approach. And when we think about AI, there's probably not a single technology that is so interdisciplinary. So this week is the AI Impact Summit. And I think we had discussions here today, but all around the city about how AI is a technology that basically we only get probably once a century. That changes everything from the way we learn, from the way we get informed, from the way we cure disease. We're in one of the most prestigious hospitals here. It changes the way we interact. It changes the way we access information. And as such, it can only be dealt when we bring a lot of different stakeholders in one room. And that's what we're doing with the AI Summit we did in Paris and that India is doing now. When you're thinking about AI and you both work in AI, and I know you have this idea in mind on where you want to bring AI, and this is something we concretely share with our Indian friends. This is too much of an important technology to just be developed in the hands of a few companies. We need to think how we develop it with public good interest. And I know you both care about this topic very much. So maybe starting with Manan, based on your work, what would be your advice to this room, scientists here, but also people from the government, people from all around the world who are gathered in Delhi, so make sure that we continue trying and pushing AI in the interest of public good, which was a key theme of our AI Paris Summit as well.
Sure. So, we can just talk endlessly about AI, but I'll focus more on, something which is relevant for this discourse. So we have to see that as AI matures, as it becomes more and more useful, it will be adopted more. It will be consumed more. And if it is being consumed more and we are really serious about its social good, then it has to become more sustainable. It has to become more energy efficient. It has to become more green. So that is something that, at least in our work, we try to closely focus on, because we work on things like next forms of computing, semiconductor devices which take less energy. So, neuromorphic computing, bio-inspired computing. The essence here is that we need to cut down the power budget or the energy budget that AI systems consume. And I think, at least in the Indo-French context, this has a lot of relevance because both countries have strong commitment to AI for the wider good and also for sustainability. And, with our French partners, we are working extensively on building low energy AI systems. The work is quite complementary, just how the cultures are complementary. They work more on new materials. We work more on building systems with those materials or algorithms with those materials which are more energy efficient. So if you ask me to summarize, I would say that sustainable AI or getting the AI systems to be more green, more sustainable is what would make it enduring and what it would take to much larger scale of impact.
And what we can do together.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Priyanka, do you want to add up to that topic as well?
Yes, thank you for the question. And just to add to Manan, so AI for good, because AI, let's be honest, it's machine learning and among other forms of training data. And at the base, it's very, very technical. So it might actually scare people. So we need some mechanisms that, on one side, you're able to destigmatize this fear of technology and people not knowing what is behind. Even for us scientists, sometimes we're like, okay, what's behind this model? And so on the sustainability aspect, it's also, we are training large amounts of data, but is it better to, focus on certain aspects? And that really depends on regulatory access, to the different data sets that we have. For example, we work on flood early warning systems, and I'm heading international strategy for this company. And so when we are doing transboundary training, how do we get access to that data? Even if we cross-collaborate with research teams, so we require the help of policymakers to make sure that the access to that data is fluid, so that we have more parameters that can help us with our training.
Thank you. Manan, you're also a professor. And so one of the aspects I know you're thinking about a lot is the impact of AI on your students. Could you build a bit on that as well?
Yeah. So again, especially for academic pedagogy, it's like an inflection point with the LLMs, the GPTs, the agentic systems. It's like a never seen before situation, and many things are not clear. We don't want to jump into stifling innovation before the systems mature, because we have to make sure that even the innovation is there. But the way I like to look at it is not in a negative sense, but it's really a beast which needs to be tamed both by the teachers and the students, for more efficiency, more productivity. At the same time, we need to protect the demographics. The session before spoke about the child protection. So we need to take care of the demographics. But there are n number of things, whether students can use agents in an examination, whether teachers can design a question paper with an agentic AI, or whether you can replace the classroom teacher with an avatar of an instructor. So there are many gray areas, but we need to ride this tide, and we need to really be able to tame. Both students and the teachers need to tame this technology for the wider good. So.
Thank you. So you talked about sustainability, data access that led us to teaching, and you mentioned it, kids. In the session before with Minister Le Henaf, we had a great discussion on what should we do with those tools when it comes to younger generation? Because obviously the students you have in your classroom, they're probably not handling the aspects of those technology as well as younger generation, younger students, or actually not students at all, because younger and younger age, people are interacting with AI through so many different forms, but in particular with chatbots. And those chatbots, they converse, they engage with you, sometimes they get in your intimacy, and it has so much consequences on younger people. Professor Worms earlier today said, we were discussing how this can only be solved again as a global multi-stakeholder issue. And he said, that's probably a good example of sometimes with your partners, you can't rely on every definition of what's the best, but you can align and agree on what's the worst. And the worst on AI chatbots and children is probably a scenario we've already seen unfold in front of our eyes when we think of social networks. So how do we come together and address this issue before it has the impact it has had with social network? It's something we discussed earlier with the minister to discuss about the need for global expertise, the need for standards, the need for tools, building tools also that will get this technology in a very positive way for children without harming them in a way that we can only see, unfolding now in front of our eyes. So I'm glad you raised this question. We don't necessarily have all the answers, but I think seeing a global community taking that as one of the aspects we want to move forward is extremely important. And I know it's important to you, Mr. President. So maybe with all those topics, sustainability, data access, the ability to connect with education, but also to protect the younger generation, how do you think we should advance this conversation on AI and public good?
Thank you. I think the summit organized tomorrow by India is extremely important regarding all these issues. And after our action summit 1 year ago, we follow up the conversation in order to have, to try to make sure that our countries benefit from the innovation, but to make sure as well that this innovation will be at the service of our common goods and our humanity. And I think it's as important as allowing the innovation to be part of our countries. I really believe that we have the same obsession both in India and in France, I would say, and in Europe, which is that we don't want to be dependent on a totally US or a totally Chinese model, but we really believe that we need a broader one and we want to be part of the solutions and we want to have players being part of the solutions. So you perfectly described what is at stake. What we want to do is to make sure that we have the data centers and the computing capacities, that we train the talents in our countries, that we have all the capacities, and it's clearly about computing capacities, talents, and capital. Here are the three elements. And when I speak about computing capacities, it's about having affordable, or at least competitive, low-carbon energy in order to deliver this agenda. On this agenda, I really believe we have a lot of assets, and we are in the race. We are lagging behind both US and China, but we are in the race. Now the question is, on the downstream side, how to accelerate adoption. And you mentioned it, both of you. And adoption is critical. Why? Because it's how to make sure, sector by sector, with the right ethical approach, AI will be adopted and transform your productivity, will allow you to discover new disease, to completely change your energy model, to be much more productive. And this is one of the only way, clearly, to see the consequences of AI in the statistics and to avoid a well-known paradox where AI can be seen as a wonderful innovation, but without a lot of impact. So adoption is absolutely critical. But when we speak about adoption, we speak about the speed, the depth of this adoption, but as well how the key players of each sector are familiar with AI in order to make it, to transform AI solutions and technological solutions at the service of their objective and not something which will completely and just disrupt their approach. And this is exactly what we want to do, especially in the healthcare sector. And we will have the occasion a little bit later today to illustrate this transformation. It's true on space, it's true on energy, and so on. On the other side, you mentioned frugality. I think the way we want to be part of this race and this global competition is slightly different. When we speak about data, when we speak about energy, I think both India and France do consider that we can do it in a different way. The hyperscalers are organizing this approach. This is why when we speak about large language model, with Mistral AI, we adopted a much more frugal approach. What Yann Lequin is building, by the way, in France, and we are very proud of that, leaving Meta, is clearly another approach to modelize AI, which is much more frugal. And India was one of the rare countries to choose small language models as well, based on this frugality and to be much more targeted. And I think we're right, because otherwise you can see that this race is already unsustainable by itself. Having these hyperscalers buying and building or booking for huge data centers everywhere in the world, most of them don't have any access to energy. Most of them, even in the US, don't have energy, and none of them have the clean energy. I mean, it's not sustainable even on the midterm. So I really believe that our common approach makes much more sense, but we have to clearly bridge the gap at the same way. But the alliance and the partnership between both of us makes a lot of sense. My last point is about the fact that we really believe, both India and France, in an AI at the service of our humanity. Meaning we are ready to put regulations. And I want just to mention three examples of that. The first one was largely developed, is about childhood. It's clear that in the system today, something is rotten, and look at the situation of our children, our teenagers. When you speak about social media, if you add to this social media some chat box with agentic capacities, I mean, this is the beginning of a terrible situation. And we already have all the symptoms of the situation. So we have to protect our childhood, and we are aligned on that. Second, we are in favor of transparency. And one of the key achievements of this summit is to have to ask requests from, perhaps at the end of the day, force these hyperscalers to provide the full transparency on their algorithm. And I think it's extremely important. It's important for our researchers, but it's very important for all of us as citizens. Because all the algorithms have biases. We know that. There is no doubt. And they are so impactful when you speak about social media that having just no clue about how the algorithm is made, how it is tested, how it is trained, and where it will guide you, I mean, the democratic consequences of this bias could be huge. We don't ask for regulation by itself. We don't want the IP, but we say, I mean, just should make it transparent. You are for the free speech. Some of them claim to be in favor of free speech. Okay, we are in favor of free algorithm. Totally transparent. Because, I mean, free speech is a pure bullshit if nobody knows how you are guided through this so-called free speech, especially when it's to be guided from one hated speech to another hated speech. I just want to have a transparent road through these different speeches, and I want, by the way, to have a sort of public order. I want to avoid racist speech, hated speech, and so on. This is my. And the third one is the respect of language diversity. And it's extremely important. And I think this is something we have in common between India and France. You have at least 22 official languages, but hundreds of languages. And we are very much attached to Francophonie. And the big risk is to have just a global AI with LLMs and apps being 100% trained on English models, and on a portfolio largely dominated by the Anglo-Saxons and all the Chinese. Diversity, protection of diversity, and especially diversity of our languages, is a guarantee to avoid a lot of biases and to improve the quality of our models. And especially, you described very fairly the impact that AI could have on education. If you want a proper mentoring, I don't think that AI will replace teachers and researchers, but I think we will have to learn how to teach with AI, to have a different approach in order to improve the quality of the lessons and to have a better, probably personalized education. But it will be impactful and meaningful if precisely the model you use is trained on the right portfolio of content and trained on the right language. So I think it's very important as well if we want an ethical AI and if we want a safe AI to clearly protect the diversity of languages.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Priyanka. Thank you, Manan. We're coming to the end of this conversation. We're going to have a picture on stage with you two talents and the president, of course, and then we are going to move to the next part of our meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks to you too.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You are waited in France. Whenever you want, we will be more than happy to welcome you.
We are going to continue. We are going to continue. So I'm going to ask everyone to sit again, and we're going to have plenty of opportunities for other pictures. And I'm going to ask Priyanka and Manan to walk down. And thank you very much. Warm round of applause for both Priyanka and Manan. I now invite our two chairmen of Brush, Professor Thierry Coulon and Professor Vijay Raghavan, to join us on stage for the second stage of our event. So the event started this morning, and there was already quite a bunch of discussion, and so we're going to hear from both Thierry and Vijay on these sessions and what are your key takeaways so far.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, President Emmanuel Macron, Honorable Mantriji, Shri J.P. Nadda, Professor Thierry Coulon, and I summarized today's very stimulating proceedings. Actually, there's not much to say because you summarized it better than I would already. But you also added some very interesting material. But let me go on. Today I showcased the depth and future potential of the Franco-Indian partnership in science, higher education, health, and above all, artificial intelligence for the public good. At the plenary, our discussions reaffirmed several decades of strategic scientific partnership and set AI at the center of a renewed agenda in biotechnology, health, higher education, and geopolitics. There's a book brought out by the French Embassy in India. It's in the bag which many of you got. That really beautifully summarizes the history of French-India science collaborations. And that's really worth looking at. Now let me go on to standards. We heard converging messages from Indian and French leaders in government, academia, and funding agencies to treat AI not just as a technology, but as a shared strategic infrastructure, requiring common standards, interoperable data, and joint investments in talent and institutions. The new Franco-Indian campus in Life Sciences for Health, CEFIPRA's 40-year track record, and the planned INRIA DST Center for Digital Sciences illustrate how our cooperation is becoming more structured, mission-oriented, and long-term. Moving on to AI and health, The sessions in AI on health, life sciences, and global health emphasize using AI to improve access, equity, and quality of care while keeping ethics, privacy, and explainability at the forefront. The Indo-French Forum on AI in Brain Health, built on AIIMS Sorbonne University Paris Brain Institute partnership, demonstrated how joint research can move from biomarkers and imaging to better clinical care, capacity building, and policy recommendation. In higher education, we saw a strong interest on both sides in internationalizing universities and building a truly global AI workforce. French and Indian institutions outlined concrete pathways, dual and joint programs, cross-border AI training, mobility of students and early career researchers, and closer links to industry through innovation bridges and startup ecosystem. Importantly, discussions on foreign universities in India, digital health ecosystems, and AI in education and business education, all of that underscore that talent, openness, and trust will determine our collective leadership in AI. Finally, the cross-cutting message of the day is that Franco-Indian cooperation in AI is maturing from a collection of projects into an integrated ecosystem spanning fundamental mathematics, digital technologies, agriculture, brain, mental health, and public-private partnerships. In conclusion, colleagues on both sides express a clear expectation that under your leadership and that of the Government of India, we now move to a next phase, scaling joint centers, coordinating funding instruments, and using this partnership as a model for responsible, human-centered AI at the global level. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Vijay. While moving to Thierry Coulon, I also want to share that both Vijay and Thierry are obviously the two chairmen of the Rush, but they also share, like our previous persons we had on stage, two things. Your internationally recognized scientific expertise, which we're very proud to highlight today, but also that you both advised our leaders on science before in your career. So thank you so much for joining forces and making this event happen. And I'm moving on to Thierry.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you, Clara. Thank you, Vijay, Mr. President, ministers, excellencies, colleagues. From all the discussions that Vijay has brilliantly summarized, one message stands out. France, as far as higher education and research are concerned, but maybe more generally, France and India are complementary by nature and compatible by choice. India is a talent powerhouse, an emerging science and technology giant, and a key partner in a fragmented global order. It brings skills and speed. France, on the other hand, brings a tradition of scientific excellence, strong institutions, and an approach that connects innovation with trust and regulation with innovation. So our cooperation should not be driven by volume alone, although you recall that we have a clear target, easy to remember as well, 30,000 students in 2030. But our cooperation should be driven by selectivity and excellence, deep anchoring in research and doctoral training, long-term capacity building, and alignment with priorities like AI, health, climate, and strategic technologies. In short, less transactions, more transformations. And so how do we go further? Again, just by attacking together the great challenges. And moreover, these great challenges are now inseparable. Climate and energy transition need breakthrough science, and industry and defense remind us that cooperation only works when trust is built step by step in sensitive domains. Health demands shared capabilities, not just shared papers. And AI will shape competitiveness, sovereignty, and social cohesion. What one could hear and read between the lines this morning was the following, I think. The choice is simple. Either we import the future or we co-invent it. And this is why this partnership matters, not only for France and India, not only for higher education and research, but for a world that needs stability, standards, and trusted innovation. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Coulon. Before we unveil some of the cooperation that many of you are in the room, building every day, we will have a picture, and then we'll launch a little video. Thank you. Bravo. So, Monsieur le Président, yesterday you unveiled with Prime Minister Modi new areas of cooperation and MOUs among our most prestigious institutions. We'll now launch a video that portrays what all those collaborations are about.
Université Paris-Saclay and IIT Bombay share a strong commitment to academic excellence. A student exchange agreement reinforces structured mobility, academic cooperation, and cultural exchange, laying the foundation for long-term strategic collaboration. Building on a long-standing partnership developed by Centrale Supélec, Université Paris-Saclay has signed a Memorandum of Understanding with BITS Pilani. The agreement strengthens collaboration through structured mobility, deeper academic ties, and joint initiatives in computer science, energy, biotechnology, chemistry, and the humanities. Ashoka University and École Normale Supérieure PSL are leading institutions committed to excellence in teaching and research. A memorandum of understanding promotes collaboration across disciplines, from experimental sciences to the humanities, encouraging faculty and student mobility, joint research, visiting scholars, and shared academic resources. INRIA and DST share a long-standing partnership grounded in scientific excellence. Together, they have established the binational Indo-French Center for Digital Sciences and Technology to advance research, innovation, societal impact, and digital sovereignty in collaboration with leading institutions from both ecosystems. ANRS, Emerging Infectious Diseases, INSAM, and India's Department of Biotechnology are launching a strategic partnership on emerging and re-emerging infections. Focused on antimicrobial resistance and arboviral diseases, the collaboration will advance joint research, innovation, and international cooperation to address these growing global health threats. The CNRS and the Indian Ministry of Science and Technology have signed a letter of intent to establish a Franco-Indian Center in Advanced Materials. A subsequent memorandum of understanding aims to consolidate their long-standing partnership based on scientific excellence, openness, and innovation in service of society. The Tara Ocean Foundation promotes ocean exploration and the sharing of scientific knowledge. The Tara Coral Expedition unites 40 international laboratories to study coral resilience to global warming in the Coral Triangle, with the Andaman Islands serving as a key comparative site. Code at Home, an international initiative by the EMMA organization and supported by IFCCI, equips children and teenagers with coding, AI, and digital skills. It has reached 90,830 young learners in India, 48% of them girls, and aims to reach 1 million youth. TCS and CEA List combine expertise in AI-led technology and scientific research to advance human-centric digital and physical AI. Their collaboration drives purpose-led transformation and societal progress, from brain-controlled devices and intelligent robots to AI-powered autonomous systems, grounded in responsible and trustworthy AI. ESSEC Business School, a global institution of excellence, welcomes nearly 9,000 students and 5,000 executive education participants across campuses in France, Morocco, and Singapore, with hubs in New York and London. It now announces a new hub in Mumbai, the first step in a long-term plan to advance its transdisciplinary vision for management education in India. Skill India empowers one of the world's youngest workforces through NSQF-aligned industry-driven training. the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, in partnership with France, promotes joint curricula, teacher training, global qualification alignment, internships, and vocational programs. The establishment of a National Center of Excellence at NSTI Kampong will strengthen capacity to build a future-ready workforce. The collaboration between INSERM and ILBS on liver diseases began more than 10 years ago, founded on shared scientific excellence and a common commitment to improving patients' lives. Today, with the signing of this agreement, we take an important new step in strengthening our partnership through the Indo-French Liver and Metabolic Diseases Network. Together, we are opening new perspectives for innovation, discovery, and concrete health benefits for our two countries. Supported by India's Department of Science and Technology and France's Ministry for Europe and Foreign Affairs, CEFIPRA marks 40 years of Indo-French scientific partnership alongside the Year of Innovation. It has enabled over 800 academic and 64 industry collaborations, supported 230 plus seminars, and generated more than 60 patents. Happy birthday!
So I'm going to call the representatives of the institution who are unveiling this cooperation to join us on stage for a final picture. But before you come up, kind reminder, this is going to be the final moment of our ceremony. And we rehearsed that before. So people in the room need to stay seated after we finish this final picture while we go on and move to visit the place with Mr. President. So please come on stage for the photo, and everyone else has to remain seated for security reasons. Thank you so much.
Somebody take safe photos of this.